Hey everybody, this is Matthew Soltesiak, and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast, part of the Minute Media Podcast Network. The Detroit Lions are now in a new, grittier era, and we look beyond just the kneecaps when it comes to the analysis. I speak with a variety of guests and interview key players, gaining more insight on what makes this team go. Welcome to another episode. In episode 248, we discussed the Detroit Lions' 19-16 win over the Chicago Bears in the 2025 season finale in Soldier Field, finishing with a record of 9-8 and giving the Lions their fourth straight winning season. We're going to discuss what we liked, anything we disliked, plus hit on all the major storylines, including some of Taylor Decker's comments after the game, as the season now comes to a close for the Detroit Lions. We'll hit on all those topics and more. Let's get to it, Lions fans.
This is Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast.
Joining me today is Coach Jerry Angers, the former Michigan High School Coach of the Year, who's also named Coach of the Week by the Detroit Lions. He is the Scouting and Training Director for Bull Rush Sports. Coach, it's been a few days, but I got to say, Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year, and what a great time to talk. 245 days until Lions football again, and we get to think about them beating the Bears. I went to a New Year's Eve party with some Chicago people, and they just would not stop running their mouths. And I just stood there and said, I guess we'll see you on Sunday. Well, you guys got a while before you can start talking smack again, but you got to beat us first.
There you go. All right. Well, what a way to start off the new year. Joining both of us to discuss that is the Sports Writer of the Year for Community Newspaper Holdings Incorporated. That is the senior sports writer for the Traverse City Record Eagle, James Cook. James, Happy New Year to you as well.
Good New Year after a win. Coach always talks about 1-0, but he can talk to his Bears fans about 4-0 against the Bears the last 2 years.
That he can, for sure. That's it. Yeah, they had a stat actually on the show, like the last time the Lions were trailing the Bears was like 3 years ago, like in a game even. So not even winning, losing, just trailing. So guys, we want to let you know as we get started, the show is brought to you by our friends at Roaster Jack Coffee Company. They've been roasting incredible beans since 1999, perfect for your morning cup of joe or fueling the whole crew. You can order fresh at roasterjack.com. Use the code LIONS to get you 20% off your order. Nice discount there. Roaster Jack, brew great coffee, go Lions. All right, so overall reaction in a sentence or two. James, get us started.
Really nice way to end a disappointing season, and thank you, Minnesota Vikings. Because their win still got us the fourth place schedule.
It did. You know, I don't know if you should be thanking the Vikings or thanking the Green Bay Packers for starting Clayton Tune. One or the other might be in order.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to summarize and say what I said at the end last episode. Expectations were low. Hopes were high. The Lions did not disappoint those hopes, folks. And Dan at the end of the game said they played complimentary football, or maybe it was after the game. And it was nice to see this team one more time for the season play in that manner. That was just great. Great way to end the season as far as it can if you're not making the playoffs. Coach, how about you? Summarize in a sentence or two.
Just them playing, like you said, complimentary football. But I think the biggest thing for me was no matter when we had any big mistake, we seemed to overcome it from the other side of the ball. And we never got ourselves into it. So it was good to see. We talked about it, about the next season, what it seems like, how big a game this was. This just jumped us into the next season. We're 1-0 in 2026.
There you go. That's Coach's favorite number, right, James? 1-0.
Two numbers, but in one little sentence.
I stand corrected, and I appreciate it. Yes. All right. Well, hey, let's hit on a few turning points, pivotal moments in this game. The defense, offense, it was complimentary. You had them on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. I think one was in the second quarter, you guys. It was 3rd and short for the Bears, and Aiden Hutchinson gets a sack. Forces the Bears to punt. The Lions were up 6-0 at that point and get the ball back. That helped the Lions do something awesome in this game, which was their time of possession. That helped control and dictate the game. So I got that as one of the turning points or pivotal moments. Coach, what's one that you have?
Well, I got one. Actually, I'm going to go with two real quick, just because we're always talking about touchdowns and stuff like that. Second quarter, 4th and 2, 34 seconds. Barnes' PBU. Guys, that was a huge play
Yeah.
right before halftime. We had an opportunity to go down and put 3 on the board for that middle part of the game, the middle 8 minutes. So that play was huge. If they go in and score on that, the whole halftime, everything's a big change. And then the fourth quarter, 2nd and 10, 2 minutes, 10 seconds. DJ Reader totally manhandled. I think it was Jonah Jackson, pressured, made Caleb move. Rock came off the edge. Caleb grounded the ball. 10-yard penalty. They have to punt. We win the game. Those 2 plays are just huge in my mind.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. That Barnes one, I remember that one very vividly. That was huge. James, what's something you got for a pivotal moment in this game?
I'm going to go with the first Lions defensive drive. Sorry, the Lions' first defensive drive. They come out in a zone defense, which is uncharacteristic for them, and they played zone defense every snap of the entire first half. It threw the Bears for a loop, and they never really got their offense going until it was almost too late.
Yeah, they must have made some adjustments down the stretch and whatnot. They finally did get things going in the fourth quarter, but like you said, it had allowed the Lions to dictate the game for the first 3 quarters of this one, and it didn't go perfect. And the Lions did need that field goal late to win it, but it threw them for a loop, and that's going to go back to something else that goes right into what we liked about this game, which is the Lions came to win. Coach, that they went with a whole different tendency than what they've been doing all season. They changed it up. They were like Rocky Balboa fighting right-handed instead of left-handed, right? Like they did something different, and like James said, it really caught Chicago off guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was pride, and that was a big thing too. Again, it was all about their pride, but they came with a great game plan, off balance on with offense and defense. Like James just said, they're off balance on defense because of the zone concept. And then it goes back to the DNs. The DNs did a phenomenal job, and I can name them all off, but keeping him in the pocket and not giving him the ability to roll out and make a big splash play with his legs and his arm.
All right, and I guess one pivotal play we have to talk about also is the Lions scored 1 touchdown, and that was a pass to Gibbs out of the backfield for 15 yards. Only touchdown of the game for the Lions, so that did matter quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's just a reminder, and we saw it a good amount. Gibbs was lining up around a few different spots, and he's become quite the receiving threat. So that was a nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about the things we liked in this game. Some we'll probably hit on again because we already hit for pivotal moments or things we liked. But I want to say with the offense, and I want to go with Chris Hubbard, you guys. Mm-hmm. Chris Hubbard. He signed to the practice squad on November 5th. I believe he's like 34 years old. He filled in at right tackle for Penei Sewell. The guy's had 61 starts and like 10 years over the league. He played 10 games last year with 3 starts for the New York Giants. I'd never heard of him before. Okay. And yeah, I think he gave up a sack early in the game to Goff. I think he got beat on that play. But for the majority of the game, you didn't know he was in there because you didn't know, he wasn't making mistakes, right? If you don't hear his name, they don't make mistakes. Mm-hmm. But Coach, I mean, this is big. I mean, just a fill in. I'm not projecting anything for the future. I'm just saying for this one game, we were out a number of people on the offensive line, and you had Chris Hubbard, who had never started a game for us this year, step in and do this.
Yeah, it's funny because I think when I sent you guys the active list, I'm like, who is this guy? And then I kind of remember them signing him early, and he kind of just sat there. But then again, you look at his body of work. Again, this is the thing when you talk about offensive line. You talk about our 2 rookies in the middle, and then a third rookie when Frazier comes in, and then Yodi when he comes in with the experience and stuff like that. And then you plug a guy in there at right tackle for Sewell, and we never hear his name. And like you just said, unbelievable. I think we found a backup for next year. Keep him around. He just stay on practice squad, and I'm sure he enjoyed it, and he got a shot to play. So yeah, that's a great call on Hubbard.
Yeah, that's something I like. James, do you want to talk about him or anything else about the offensive line?
Yeah, the line overall was pretty good. I mean, Christian Mahogany still kind of had the rust. Had some plays where he didn't look great, but I think that's just that injury's not fully healed, and he's not fully bounced back from it. So I'm assuming he's going to be much better next year. But aside from that, the offensive line looked pretty good.
Mhm.
There was one play I think where Glasgow got beat, where they kind of looped his guy around and then he tried to mirror him and and couldn't do it and ended up giving, I can't remember if it was a pressure or a sack. But aside from that, the line was pretty solid. Gibbs came up with a really nice one in pass pro on one of the plays when the line wasn't good. I think it was when Mahogany left, they put Frazier in. Frazier reached for a guy and just completely missed, and guy was coming almost unblocked, and Gibbs just stood him up. And then I think, Goff gets a completion to St. Brown, which he was pretty much doing the whole first half.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, yeah, the offense, I mean, the, for a good part of that first half, they looked like the Lions offense of old almost. I mean, they were moving the ball. They couldn't get in the end zone, and that was a problem, but Jared Goff threw for 300 yards again, you guys. I mean, and the Lions ran for 122 yards. It's the first time they've done this in weeks. I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks. It's the first time they've done this. And so, Gibbs had 80 yards and Montgomery had 42. Together, they averaged 4.5 yards. That's very respectable and way better than the Lions had done. And I chalk it up to their approach. They were kind of passed to set up the run in this game, but they were taking very well calculated plays, and they weren't doing those screens to the sideline. They were going down the yard the field 5-10 yards. And so, I mean, Jared Goff's game in this was pretty awesome. Yes, he had that interception late, but he did a great job quarterbacking the team, and we're going to have to talk about him even more as our season reflection because he's had quite a season, coach, especially behind all the changes on the offensive line.
Yeah, and it's surprising. Thank God they had a heater out on the field to keep him warm because he can't throw in cold weather.
He had two gloves on, but that didn't seem
Well,
to affect him.
in effect, he was throwing some tight rock balls. I mean, again, they kept him off balance, and they put Goff in situations where he could read, and they're going to man cover our guys. You're in trouble, And I think James said something about he was in, Saint was in that slot and Tesla was outside and then Raymond and then, and then of course JMO, they threw that quick screen to JMO, then they hit Gibbs. I mean, they kept them off balance. And that helps your offensive line when they can't pin their ears back, which we've been chasing the last 3-4 weeks, we've been chasing scores. This week we were in control. Granted they did tie us up, but then we just said, you know what, they can't stop us. We're going to go down and score when we need to anyway. So it was just, yeah, it was really great to see. And I'm sure that, the rest of the guys were pleased too. The staff and everybody was pleased with that.
Yeah, and those receivers played crucial roles, and you've seen the development of
Mhm.
Tesla in this. And James, I think Coach was hitting up on some of your notes in the rundown there. Talk to us about. I mean, it almost goes without saying, Amon-Ra St. Brown is amazing, but those numbers and just what he was doing, and just
Mhm.
honestly, I think it's just the eye test, just watching him. But
Mhm.
tell us what you were
Yeah.
seeing out of this.
Well, it's like Dan Campbell was just playing the greatest hits CD. They went back to what they were doing before. They mixed Montgomery in. They ran the ball well. They controlled the clock. They dominated time of possession in the first half. It was almost 2-1. And they lined Amon-Ra St. Brown up almost exclusively in the slot. Um, So, I mean, he had 9 catches, 110 yards, and 7 of those catches were for first downs. They putting him in the slot where they had Tisla and Jamo lined up wide. So that put CJ Gardner Johnson on him, and man, CJ Gardner Johnson just could not cover him to save his life.
No.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
And for the last couple of weeks, I've been like, man, he's actually been playing pretty decent for the
Mhm.
Bears. And then, man, in this game, he just did not look good. Uh, and then the Bears sent a bunch of blitzes on defense too, trying to get to Goff, and didn't. They just couldn't. I mean, Goff was 15 of or 12 of 15 under pressure for 168 yards and a TD. So every time the Bears threw a blitz at him, it seemed like he knew it was coming or knew where it was coming from and went right to that spot. It had and just had it read.
Yeah. And I like that they went with different formations, coach. They weren't just going with two tight end sets in this game, which is something we've kind of been talking about is like, if you don't have the personnel to run a certain package, run a different package. And they were pretty effective at moving the ball.
Yeah, they played the hand that was dealt to them, and that's the bodies, and they use the bodies again. The old saying, I think it was Nick Saban or one of those guys used to say, when it comes to crunch time and stuff like that, it's not about the play, it's about the player. And I think, Dan Campbell did a great job identifying that. And it wasn't just CJ Gardner Johnson on Saint. I think anytime he covered somebody, they threw to him. I think Khalif had a catch or two. There were 8 targets with Johnson covering him and 6 receptions for 93 yards. So I think it's funny because when James said that and put that on there and I was reading, I was thinking about that whole thing going, man, it seems like every time there's a completion, CJ's on it. So little payback, who knows? But we found a chink in their armor and we exposed it. And it was a great job by Dan Campbell and the staff.
James, anything else on offense before we jump over to defense?
I mean, Goff became just the 4th quarterback in NFL history to throw for 4,500 yards and 30 TDs in 3 straight seasons. The only 3 guys who have ever done that before is Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes. Pretty good
Wow.
company. Coming into this game, so not counting the Bears game, the whole thought was that he didn't play good against good defenses this year. But against playoff teams this year, he had a 66% completion percentage, threw for over almost 1,800 yards, 15 TDs, and only 2 interceptions with a 108 passer rating against teams that are in the playoffs.
Against teams in the playoffs.
And those numbers went up in the Bears game.
Sure. Yeah. Good. Yeah, he had a season, and I can't wait till we get into that even deeper, looking at that because he's hopefully very appreciated. There's weird stuff going on, and that we can talk about that too. Some of that stuff we'll get into it later. All right, let's jump over to the defense, you guys. The defense, I know you can say, well, they held serve for 3 quarters, and then in the 4th quarter, but they gave up 16 points in this entire football game. The last time they did that was against Philadelphia in the 16-9 loss. And they only gave up 16 or fewer points in 3 games all time this year. This is one of their best games. And the Bears were not resting their players. Also, it ties Chicago's worst offensive performance of the entire season. So think about that one. They scored 16 against the Ravens in a game like sometime in the first half of the season. Since then, the Bears offense has been putting up some points, but they didn't do it this week, Coach.
Oh, no. And I look at what they did last week against the Niners, and I mean, we did a great job. And, that's the thing is that was the icing on the cake on this one is the defense had put more wrinkles in, like James said earlier, with the zone stuff like that. But we still got the pressures. We kept them in the box. Williams, Wingo, Reeder, and Lopez played unbelievable inside. And Reeder made that one. Williams batted a ball, had a pressure, tackle for loss. And then our edge players did a great job keeping them inside that. The Bears were averaging almost 150 yards a game. We held them to 65. Okay, so that's you start putting those things in. But the kind of going back to the defense concept. Coming out in the 3rd quarter, they had the ball. We did change it a little bit with getting an opportunity to kick that field goal I talked about. We didn't, and my concern was it was 16-0. They come out and score right away. Oh my God, it's going to be a ball game now. They were 3-and-out, you guys. They were 3-and-out. And that is defense-wise. They came out and set the tone. And, that whole game, even when they tied it up 16-16, at the last 3 or 4 weeks, I was like, we're not going to win this game. But we never, I sat there and went, we're going to win this football game. I don't care what we do. I said, because we are playing complementary football. We're not letting them stack good plays against us or bad, defense. But that 3-and-out to start the 3rd quarter was the one that said to me, I don't care what they do. They're going to struggle to get to us, and they're going to score some points, but we're going to hold on and win this football game. And Bates is going to kick the winning field goal because he missed the one before halftime. So I was right.
Yeah, there was some confidence there. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Avonte Maddox coming up with that interception, man, because, He's tried, but you can't fill in for Brian Brands. Nobody can do that. But he's put forth the effort he can, and it was great to see him come up with that and get that for the Lions. That was huge because it stopped the drive, gave the Lions the ball back, and allowed them to control time of possession, which helped them control the narrative.
Mhm.
James, what were you seeing on defense?
Yeah, it was big because it stopped them from scoring. I mean, that was one of the few drives where they were really moving the ball well. And then he got that pick in the end zone. After the game, he was talking about how it took him back to his high school days of playing baseball, playing center field.
Baseball
He
friend.
just he just he just took a better route to the ball than the receiver did.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, he was the second highest graded player on defense for the Lions at 84.9, according to PFF. Aiden Hutchinson was number one at 91.7. Daniel Thomas, the other safety, who
Yeah.
played the second most snaps at safety, was 80.8. And then they played Jalen Mills a pretty decent amount. He almost played as many snaps as Daniel Thomas did. So they kind of rotated the three safeties in there. So yeah, the defense had a pretty good game. Rocky Sin had a good game at playing at corner as well. Tyleik Williams was pretty good on the defensive line. So they did a pretty good job of rotating guys in, keeping guys fresh. I know Marcus Davenport had a really low PFF grade, but like Coach said, he wasn't really blitzing. He was
Yeah.
he was just setting his edge and keeping his edge. I mean, there was plays where it looked like he was being lazy, but it's because that's what his assignment was just to keep that edge and prevent Caleb Williams from running that way. And that's what he was doing.
Well, again, 16 points, you guys, coach. You said it. The 49ers, the Bears scored 38 points on offense. The week before, the Packers, 22. They scored 31 points on the Cleveland Browns, okay, who have a really good defense. Now, I'm sure turnovers factored into those scores, you guys. And that's one thing I got to say I liked. The Lions got a turnover, and we only gave up one turnover. So we kept it even. And if you keep turnovers even with the Bears, we've all talked about this, you're probably going to win a football game because that's how the Bears have capitalized on a number of their games and won those close games.
Yes, and you're right, and that's the thing is the complementary part of the football and the concept of what they did and how we set up the defense. It was just and again we had guys step up. I mean Maddox blew a coverage. We know that he blew that coverage. He bit on that under route on a 3rd and 2, I think it was, thinking he's going to get the stop. But then you get the Barnes with the big PBU. You get Rock with the big PBU. You get Williams knocking a ball down. You get Wingo chasing the freaking quarterback, back on that long one where he had to release the ball. That play I talked about. There were so many different things in there that you looked at, and it was different people making positive plays, not different people making mistakes. Right. And that's what
Totally.
we've had all year. And even if there was a little mistake somewhere, somebody else, it never steamrolled, it never snowballed, never did anything like that. It was just complimentary football on all parts. And it was just awesome to watch.
Well, it's because they played with a lead for so much of this game,
Mhm.
and it felt like they weren't pressing, which
Right.
is something that seems like they've been doing for
Mhm.
a larger chunk of this season than we're used to, James. And so that was a nice breath of fresh air.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they rolled eight defensive linemen. They had eight defensive linemen who got eight or more snaps apiece. So
Nice.
they were constantly rotating those guys in and out of the game, trying to keep them fresh, not tired, all that. And they got some production out of those guys. They were able to contain Caleb Williams and kept him from doing anything with his feet, really, in that game. And we've seen him in games be a game changer with being able to run, and they just kind of took that away from him with corralling those edges. And then the thing is just playing zero snaps of zone defense or man-to-man defense in the first half. I thought I mean, it was just way different than we're used to seeing. Aaron Glenn and now Kelvin Shepard love playing man-to-man defense with the corners, and to completely change it. I mean, Kelvin Shepard's a little bit of a liar. He didn't say they were gonna change anything uh, this week in his press conference, but but it worked out. And the Bears only had 69 yards of total offense in the first half. Lions had 237. Lions
Yeah.
didn't punt in the first half. They either scored in every drive, and then they had that one at the end of the first half that ended in the missed field goal. So, uh, hats off to the defense, especially against the Bears and Ben Johnson. I mean, that's a pretty good performance.
Yeah, let's look at that defense. They gave up 65 yards rushing the entire game. And that's a big improvement because they've been really struggling in that category. And so that's a huge statement by the defense. Obviously, the overall yardage you hit on the first half, yes, they got more in the second half. But if anybody saw the Ben Johnson presser before the game, like earlier in the week, multiple people in Chicago were asking, well, how big of a deal would it be if Caleb Williams can pass for this many yards and break the 4,000 yard thing? And Ben Johnson's like, well, if it happens, it happens or whatever. There's more about the win and all that. And they're like, but like, would it be nice or something like that? I'm paraphrasing, of course, and doing a very bad job of it, I'll admit. But Ben Johnson's like, well, I'm sure there's teams that have never had a 4,000 or no, somebody else said, you haven't been here very long. It's kind of a big deal around here. And because they're the only franchise without a 4,000 yard passer. And I got a report. Caleb Williams ends 58 yards shy of the 4,000 yard mark, but he did set a new single season high for the Chicago Bears. He passed former Detroit Lion Eric Kramer, who also was a Chicago Bear at one point, who Eric Kramer had the most passing yards in a season by a Chicago quarterback. So Williams elevated that floor, but he did not get to the 4,000 yard mark. And so I'm going to credit the Lions defense for not letting that happen on their serve.
Let me shoot out an Eric Kramer thing. If Eric Kramer would have been the quarterback instead of Scott Mitchell back in the day, we'd have won a Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now. But we're going to leave it at that. And that's coming from David Lutz, Lomas Brown, and all those guys. But I just want to shout out Eric Kramer.
All right. I want to shout out Roaster Jack Coffee Company, guys. They've been supporting our show all season long. You can order fresh roaster order coffee at roasterjack.com. Use the code LIONS, get you 20% off your order. Okay, so the Lions won. We are happy. It ended well. I guess we didn't put down a pivotal play or a thing we liked, but we'll get to that. That's probably my play of the game. But it's as many things that went right. There's some things that didn't go so right. Okay? I want to go with the throw to Jared Goff on 3rd and 1. Okay? I don't think anybody was surprised by that play. Like they set it up, right? They ran 2 different plays with Monty out of the Wildcat. And I was all good with that. But as I'm watching it, I go to my wife. I'm like, as probably everybody else watching the game said, they're going to throw it to Goff on one of these plays. You knew it was going to happen. So what I didn't like was they put Goff in motion this time instead of having him out there. Why change that up? Also, it's 3rd and 1, not 2nd and 3. And also, you only have one option to throw the ball to. What if that one guy gets covered? So I thought it was the wrong time to call that play, coach. I mean, you got Montgomery on 3rd and 1. Just put him up right behind center and have him just go and try and run that ball right up the middle, because that would have kept the drive moving at a time when you still were in a good spot. So what were your thoughts on that play?
Yeah, I mean, again, that after that the 3 and out in the third quarter, I didn't care about that because I said we're going to win this game.
Yeah.
We just got to go back play defense. Some people say it's a bad decision. Maybe coach Monty up to throw the ball away. Jared was upset because he figured he should have threw a 50-50 ball. He felt he could go up and get it. I don't know if you saw his press conference, which was
I did,
funny.
yeah. And you know what? Where they were,
Yeah,
an interception would not have been as bad as it would have been like a punt, right?
Yeah, and so there's a bunch. If it works, it's great. So I think everything they did, whether it's a screenplay or a belly or something like that, it's always to set something else up in the third quarter, late in the fourth quarter, and stuff like that. When you have everything charted down, somebody's in the box going, "It's time to pull that out." And they probably choose it. And I'm going to go to the throw we made before we kicked the winning field goal. My nephew texts me immediately, "Why are we throwing the ball in a critical situation where we could actually turn it over?" Because, two bad things can happen, either an incompletion or an interception. That's 67% of the time when you throw 67% could go wrong. And I said to him, because we set it up, because they had 10 guys in the box and
Yeah.
because we had the best quarterback in the NFL, and one of the, well, I'm going to say the smartest quarterback in the NFL. And he said, okay, I understand. So yeah, I know. I agree with you. They did that. I'm like, ooh, because then even if we did something crazy and threw it away, it would be 4th and 1 and we could still go for it. But now
Right.
it ended up 4th and 5, I believe. And,
Yeah, and we had to
and the
punt.
rest
And I didn't like the timing of it and the way it
yeah,
was fully designed. I'm not opposed to doing those types of
no,
things. It just seemed, yeah, ill-advised there.
yeah.
James, any thoughts on that one?
No, I have a different golf play, but
All right. Um, all right. Well, what's the golf play that you didn't care for?
the 3rd and 20 from the 35,
Yeah.
the interception.
Yeah.
Bayard got the pick. Goff and it had been playing really well, so I think he just decided, you know what, I'm just going to let one of these go,
Yeah.
which is uncharacteristic for him, and he just tried to gun one over the middle. Didn't work out. I also will say that I thought that was pass interference because Brisker went right through Amon-Ra St. Brown to
Yeah.
get the ball.
Yeah.
That was pass interference.
Yeah, that's
But
a
if,
50-50 ball maybe he throws and thinks he's going to get it right. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm like,
yeah,
oh my God, but yeah.
there were a
We're
lot
not
of
going to get
Chicago Bears in that area.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
not
it
going
was
to
like
get that.
triple. It was like
We're
triple
not gonna,
coverage.
we're not going to get that call. We all know that.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk about the final 3 minutes of the game. And Coach, I know you got some notes in here, and I'm really happy to talk about that with you as well. But with about under 3 minutes to go in the game, David Montgomery runs it for 9 yards, but goes out of bounds. The Lions are, in control at this point. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Awesome that he picked up the 9 yards. I really wish he would have not gone out of bounds, though.
Right.
Like, that annoyed me. But I'm like, all right, whatever. He got 9 yards. We're good. And then, he goes, the stops the clock. They're down to the 30-yard line. So we're in field goal range at this point. And then the Bears jump offside. And I said this before the announcers, Coach, because I know you said you're not sure the announcers got it right. But before the announcers even said it, I said, that actually helps the Packers. Or not the Packers. I'm getting to the Packers. It helps the Bears. Because this happened, I swear, 2 years ago in a game with the Packers and the Lions, where the Packers intentionally went off sides on 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2, and the Lions declined it because it automatically gave them a first down. And then they only had 3 more plays that they could run before they got a first down again, helping them with timeouts. And we accepted that penalty. It gave us a first down. Okay, but now it's 1st and 10, and then things just unraveled. Incomplete pass, intentional grounding, right? A miscommunication there. And before we know it, we've got to punt the ball away. And so, again, not going down inbounds, a mistake can happen.
Yeah.
Not catching that penalty, because I swear they did it on purpose. I mean, and I do believe the announcers were right on that one. I was saying it beforehand. But it was something like, oh, great, we're giving the ball back to the Bears, and there's still more than 2 minutes remaining on this clock. So, fortunately, the defense held, and the defense got the job done. But I just thought that was bad management. Coach, what were you seeing on that? What were your thoughts?
Totally agree on the out of bound ones. The one, I don't think he jumped off sides on purpose. He waited till the shift came. He waited till we got towards the end of the clock, and then he jumped late. The thing is, if you're going to jump off sides, you do it early. You don't wait till a team shifts and 2 guys come. I went and watched the film for 5 minutes today.
Unless you don't want them to know how obvious it is that you're doing this because of a certain rule.
But there isn't. But the thing is with that, if we quick snap it right there, now he's caught in the air and they're in trouble anyway. So
good point on that. Yep, that would have been smart.
I don't. That's here, there, nor there. So that one. Then the other thing is, so we get the first down. The reason that's not bad for Lions as much as it's being able to run the play on third to get the first down, and then the clock ticks down to the 2-minute marker. If we do get that first down without the clock working, we're still going to get one to the 2-minute marker and be able to run 2 plays afterwards to where they're still going to have to burn timeouts. So the next call, beautiful call. Beautiful. The pass play that turned into intentional grounding. Either what happened was Saint switched. He moved. He rotated outside of JMO. Okay.
Yep.
So that's that. So it's I don't know how they call it, but I would have called that a switch play or switch route. No matter, and it could have been Brown. You're going to switch outside, but you're going to run the quick out. Okay. Or however new the comment. I don't know how their combos work, but anyways. So the communication in that part was, JMO and Brown both ran inside like seam routes, slant routes, whatever. I don't care what we would call them. Like we can go and name them whatever you want. Everybody's got a different name for it. And nobody broke to the outside. So two things I think: either Saint was supposed to push and go outside, or Saint was supposed to push and JMO was supposed to go outside. If either one of them runs the outside route, it's a first down. And
Yeah.
we're not having this conversation. I'm telling you right now, when I looked at, because I went back and looked at it, I went, and I think when Saint went outside to be the outside receiver, because like James even said, he had been running inside a ton. I think it screwed the two of their communication up, and not the right, because Goff came up and it wasn't even the pressure. Goff came, turned, and was letting that ball go. His timing routes that he throws so well, and they both went inside. So, but yeah,
And
there
that's
was
it. That penalty exasperated everything.
huge, which
Totally.
led to James's play that he didn't like with Goff, and that's Goff trying to pick up that first down at 3rd and 20. So,
That as well. Yeah.
but
James, what else did you not care for or love in this one?
The tight end screens are still not working, but at least they only tried it once.
yeah,
Oh man, that was a mess, wasn't it? So yeah,
that
or it
one-
has been.
That didn't go any. I think they lost 3 or 4 on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a turn and a throw, and it didn't work. So all right. Well, let's turn to our play of the game. I'm putting my play of the game to the guy who got the game ball. Okay. I was bummed when Bates missed the field goal at halftime, right before halftime. Somebody brought that up on the dislikes. That would have been one more thing to just push the game away. It didn't happen. But when the Lions needed it most, when they needed a game-winning field goal, the Lions got it from Jake Bates. Ask the Baltimore Ravens about it. Ask the Pittsburgh Steelers about their point after attempt. The Detroit Lions got a game-winning field goal from a guy when they really needed it. So that's my play of the game. Coach, what do you got?
I'm going with the DJ Reader pressure with Rock blitzing that I had already talked about, which made them ground it, which made them punt it, which gave Bates the opportunity to win it.
Nice. Yeah, the defense. The fact that the defense stood up is huge. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, James, what do you got?
I'm going to go with 4th and 2, under a minute before the half. The Bears go for it. They complete the pass to Loveland, but while he's bringing him down, Barnes reaches around and punches the ball out.
Right.
But after that is even the better part, I think, of this, is that Amik Robertson, there's all kinds of Lions right around there. So Amik Robertson, rather than try to recover the fumble, just jumps on Colston Loveland so that he can't recover it.
Just in case they ruled it a fumble, that he was making sure that Loveland didn't have a
That
shot.
Loveland couldn't get it. He just jumps on Loveland because he's got one arm of the club anyway, so he can't. He's gonna have a hard time picking it up. So just let somebody else pick it up. I thought it was a great play.
Nice. Yeah, that was great. All right. I guess we got to hit in some post-game or major storylines. And major storylines, we're going to start with the post-game presser, you guys. Dan Campbell shared a bunch of stuff, but it was the locker room stuff that was big. One thing Dan Campbell had said was, I like the nucleus of this team, but there needs to be some changes. And we're probably going to get into that even more in our recap. But he's already shedding some light on some things. I believe that was the post game, or else it was on Monday. But the biggest thing is what came out of the locker room. Taylor Decker, coach, holding court, speaking to multiple reporters for multiple minutes, going through a variety of emotions. What are some of your initial impressions and thoughts and whatnot?
Well, it's that, and again, you listed it too with big Skip too. And when they're emotional, I'll tell you the pregame, when Decker was doing the pregame with the guys, and he said, great playing with you, or this is it, or whatever. You could take, I took that a couple different ways. I took it like, some of you guys aren't going to be here in this huddle next year. But I enjoyed playing with you. And then all of a sudden I thought, oh my God, he's saying he's done too. It's, you can go the other way. Somebody's going to write one thing, somebody's going to write another one. But then to listen to him and what he went through, and playing with his kid. I throw underhand. I haven't been able to play catch with my son either, Deck, but because my shoulder's so messed up from the game. But those are the things that are to the heart. Those are also emotional things, as going through a long season with what he did. He's getting treatments at home. He's getting treatments at the place. He's not practicing. He's practicing, getting shot up. He's doing this, he's one of our leaders. The nice thing is, hopefully we know in advance. Hopefully he sits around a couple more weeks. I'm sure they're going to see doctors but yeah, it'll be sad. Won't be upset. I'll be upset and sad because he's not there, but what he did for this franchise and been around and gone through all the ups and downs. God bless you. I just hope everything works out and you're wearing that 68 next year, big dog.
Yeah, I mean, he pulled back the curtain, right? He shared with us, he shared with everybody what he's been going through, and just a glimpse of what it takes for these players to get out there on a Sunday and what he's had to go through, especially James, because he's dealt with so many injuries and he has sacrificed. And he said, I get it. Hey, I get paid a lot of money to play this game, and I'm expected to do my job, and that's what I'm going to do. But it did come at, extra sacrifice that makes him wonder the value of it and can he balance it and whatnot going forward. But man, what a very candid chat he had with the reporters in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean he was a warrior all season. I mean, we knew he had the shoulder injury all season. He had some other things that he battled too. He mentioned how he spent, hours every week in a hyperbaric chamber too, on top of all that other stuff, outside of practice and outside of the stuff that he was doing at home, the physical therapy he was doing in the facility, all this stuff. So, funny story though. I was watching the video of Decker's interview after the game, and texts from you guys kept coming in as I was watching it, and every time I would get a text notification, it would pause or it would mute the video for a second, and I was getting so upset because I was trying to watch this. And so finally I muted our conversation so that I wouldn't get the notification so I could finish watching the thing. And then I forgot to take mute off until like later in the evening. And then I look at my phone and it says I have 42 unread messages.
Well, we were engaged that night.
Yes, we were.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, and I understand wanting to get that whole, because that was not a short interview he did with all those reporters. I mean, very lengthy. And then Dan Skipper too. I mean, he's hinted that, this could be it for him. And so it's going to be interesting. We know there's going to be a lot of changes, and that's going to be one of the big storylines is what's the team going to look like next year? And we're going to get into a lot of that as the offseason goes. But those things came out right after, because after the game and then Monday was players clean out their lockers with the last opportunities for reporters to actually meet with these players before they head out. So those were the two biggest ones I heard from the comments that kind of made you think about some things. But there's a number of guys that are up as free agents after this season's up, James.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple of those, DJ Reader and Alex Anzalone, both said that they would like to be back in Detroit next year and finish their career out in Detroit if they can. But they also realized that it's not completely up to them. So they got to redo some contracts. I imagine if they bring back Reader, it's going to be not for nearly as much money. And they got to work out something with Anzalone because they're both free agents after this season.
Yeah.
And Skipper on that too. Skipper talked about, it's his back. You could tell him. I mean, Skipper freaking crying the whole time when he was talking, and and it's you can see, that winning for the guy next to you, playing that last game for the guy next to you, that all came into play. You guys would be at 9-8. They can if they do walk away, they can walk away and say, hey, we were part of that four years in a row with a winning record. And, it's like Skip said, I love when Skip said, he goes, I'm kind of a tall guy. I'm thinking, you're a large, tall guy, dude. So, yeah, if he's got a lower back problem, I mean, he's 6'9", right? He might be 6'12". I don't know. Anyways, that's 7 foot. It's kind of funny. It's a math thing, but anyways, he, and to see that because we even when he got cut this year, you guys, we were all like, he's gonna be back because everybody loves Skip, and they if they feel they can't give their all, then God bless them and good luck.
Yeah. So, and then another thing that came out just today, as the players were cleaning out the lockers, Coach, you got to see the interview, but Sam Laporta, right? We finally got to hear from him, and he had an injury that I believe was, did they say it was a herniated disc? Is that what it was?
Sounds
And
like it, yeah.
ultimately, it got worse over time, from multiple hits. And so, it's a complicated thing. Things that recovery is going well, but it's one stage at a time. And so that's something to be keep an eye on as well. But that came out today as well. So, any other major storylines from either of you guys before we get to the where does this leave the team? No. All right. Well, where does it leave them? 9-8. One of you guys just said it. 4th year in a row with a winning record. At one point, I think I thought this had never happened before, but I did a little research just to confirm. Apparently, it did actually happen from 1969 to 1972. I believe they played 14 game seasons back then. So they were 10-4 one year, like 7-6-1 another year. I mean, but so it has happened, but not when most of us were watching football regularly. Okay,
Except for one of us.
regularly. Regularly, Coach, maybe just a little bit. The entire NFC North finished with a winning record. Yes, that has happened before. Not the NFC North, but in 2023, the AFC, I think South. I thought it was the North. I thought it was AFC North, but an AFC division finished with all winning records as well. So it has happened before. It's not very common. That was the first time it had happened in since the 1970s or the Super Bowl era. The Detroit Lions draft spot, thanks to the Baltimore Ravens' ineptitude, is 17th instead of 16th, guys. I would have preferred to draft 16 and have the Steelers behind you versus Baltimore right in front of you. But what can you do? I'm still glad we won the game. The Lions have that 4th place schedule as well. We'll get to that in a moment. James, what else you got here for where does this leave the Lions?
Yeah, I was rooting for the Ravens in that game. Yeah, because if the Ravens win that game, then the Lions pick 16, which coincidentally 10 years ago is exactly where they drafted Taylor Decker.
Oh, look at that. All right. And it was the AFC North. I want to confirm, just make sure I got that right. The AFC North finished with a winning record. All right. So where does this leave the Lions? And just, quick schedule thing here real quick, you guys. So the Lions are going to play that 4th place schedule because of that, which means they're going to get the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to get the New York Giants and the Tennessee Titans. Those will be the 4 teams they play instead of who the Vikings will play. The Vikings will get the 49ers. The Vikings will get the Indianapolis Colts, and they'll get the Washington Commanders. So who do the Bears get out of that? They get Jacksonville, they get Philadelphia, and they get the Seahawks, which means the Packers will get the Rams, they'll get the Cowboys, and they'll get the Texans. So, all right. Coach, we'll get into more about where the Lions go from here, but any other thoughts on where this leaves the Lions?
No, I think it leaves them with a pretty good taste in their mouth going to the off season. I know that there's going to be many changes, some that none of us will like, some of us will go okay, but it's going to be best for the team, and I think it made them hungry again, you guys. I think this off season is going to reflect the 23 season. I think somewhere in that area where we go back to biting kneecaps and all that stuff. So looking forward to it, but wish they were playing this weekend.
I heard a reporter say something to them, and I didn't realize this stat because I hadn't looked it up, but apparently under Dan Campbell, the Lions have won the final game of every season.
I was sticking that same thing last night when I watched that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was like, wow. And that tells you a few things. One, your players don't quit on you because you don't win games if your players are quitting on you. Even when 3-13-1 doesn't really matter, they're still playing, they're still fighting, right? Even when you're out of the playoffs at 8-8, 2 different years, and you knock one team out of the playoffs, and the other is the number 2 seed, your division winner, and they're not sitting anybody. And so it's right though. It's the identity of this team. And I think that was the important thing. The season didn't go the way that anybody wanted it to, but the identity is still there. right? They didn't just fall apart and become something that they're not, or that they haven't been for the last 3 years.
Right.
And so I applaud that effort, and I applaud the result, and I applaud being 2-0 against Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Right, Coach? You said it. You said the first time before these two teams played, Campbell taught him everything he knows, but not everything Campbell knows.
That's right.
And I love that, because we talked about that meme we saw, or that thing on Instagram where you can see Ben Johnson. What's he saying in that?
Yeah. I should have gone for it.
Should have gone for it. And he didn't. And he didn't get the ball back, right?
Yeah, right.
So, and I guess 1-0. That's a great way to start 2026.
Yep.
James, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Or go ahead, Coach.
And a great way to end this season.
Oh.
With the thing about not losing the last game of the season, the Lions have all of those are in the division too. They're all division games, either against the Vikings, Cowboys, or Packers, or Vikings,
Bears, or Packers.
Yeah. But the other thing is the Lions have never lost in Week 18, because that's the 5 years that it's been that long, or the years that it's been that long. The Lions have never lost in Week 18.
All right.
So wish we'd had the 18th pick now.
All right. Well, Coach James, again, Happy New Year to you guys. Thank you so much for such an awesome season we had together. A lot of fun, ups and downs, more downs than we had last year, but lots of ups. A great season, a great calendar year at that. Folks, we're going to be keeping at it during the off season. We won't be quite as regularly scheduled as we are right now, but we do have an episode coming up with a special guest soon. Brad Holmes is expected to speak later this week, so we will be doing a season recap and wrap up at that point before we start looking forward to what's going on. Thank you to Roaster Jack Coffee Company, roasted incredible beans since 1999. Go to roasterjack.com. Use the code LIONS. You get 20% off your order. Thank you for tuning in. Please tell your family and friends about the show. Find us on social media like Twitter and Instagram. You can find us on YouTube for the video version. I'd love to hear your comments, thoughts, and reviews. Check out more episodes and content at notthesameoldlions.com. And until next time, stay gritty, my friends.